Okay, geographers, we're going to make a choropleth map now, and that might be a choropleth map of the United States, showing all the different states. It might be one of the whole world, showing countries. It might be a county map of the UK or even the US, or it could be ward level data that you found in the UK. But it's going to colour in certain areas according to the data that you provide it with. So the database I'm going to use is the US Census Bureau. Okay, there's lots and lots of different websites available that just give you raw data, but this is a pretty cool one with country level data on. So this has got lots of different countries. It's very up to date. It's got total population, mortality rates, life expectancy, and it's got a download button. So I'm going to click on the download button in the top left, and I'm going to download it as a comma separated value file, a CSV file, not Excel. It's got to be a CSV file. If I open that up, annoyingly, it's got a white space at the top. We've got to have our column headings in row 1. So I'm just going to right click and delete and make sure that is there. Now, I know the map later that I'm going to join it up with, it calls Russia the Russian Federation. So I'm going to correct that data. These names have to match up precisely with the map you're going to use. I know Turkey's not going to work. Let me just show you the spelling of Turkey. Turkey's spelled like that, but later the spelling of Turkey is going to be the local spelling. So I'll show you that it's not going to match. So anyway, there's our data. I've cleaned it to some extent. It looks good, and I've saved it as a CSV file. Okay, that's really important. If we go to ArcGIS, this is the new version with sort of the darker tones, and I'm actually going to add a layer. Now, I didn't understand this. I didn't really grasp this until recently, that you actually have to add a map layer on top of this base layer. I thought this base layer, this base map, was good enough. You know, if I put on, for example, the country names, I thought this was enough to do a choropleth map with. In fact, that's just Great Britain, isn't it? Which I've added in. Let me add in. It's topographic, isn't it? Okay, I thought these country names were enough, but they're not. So we're going to do something a little bit clever. We're going to add a layer. So using the drop-down arrow, I'm going to browse layers. I'm not going to look in my content. I'm going to look in ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to find a world map here, and I'm going to teach ArcGIS where the countries are. So the one I'm going to use is called World Countries Generalized. It's by Esri. It's very up to date. It's got South Sudan, and I'm going to add it. Okay, I'll just close a few of these pop-ups down, and there you go. It's added that layer. And as you see, if I click on Russia, Russia's called the Russian Federation. Okay, if we go to Turkey, it's got the traditional local spelling of Turkey there. So mine's not going to work. Because I knew that, I could have corrected it. I can actually go to the table. I can change this if I wanted to. You know, I can do this live, but I'm going to leave it for the moment just so you get the idea. So there's my base layer, my world map with names on. Okay, I'm now going to add in my international database that I found. So I'm going to go to layers, add layers from file this time. I'm going to go to my device, and I'm going to go find the world data. Next. Okay, I'm going to go next. String just means string of letters. Integers are obviously numbers, so if you have any issues, please check you've got your strings and integers the right way around. Often if students type things in themselves, they can put spaces in, and that can confuse it. But if you're getting it from the internet, it should be absolutely fine. Next. Location settings. No, I don't want to use any locations. That's fine. I'm going to go next. I'm going to teach it where the locations are. And I'm going to put in a name and just say add to my map. So with any luck, this should add quite easily. Okay, this will depend on your internet speed, your laptop or computer speed, and how much data you're giving it. So I've given it quite a lot of data there. Okay, and then that will add that to my map. Might take a few seconds just to pop up. Let's give it a bit of thinking time. Okay, I'm now going to go to analysis. Okay, now analysis is the really, really important feature that I'm going to use. Okay, I'm going to go to join features, and the target layer, I'm going to tell it is my world countries generalized. Okay, that's my map layer. The target layer is always your map, and you can see my data hasn't popped up yet because it's probably underneath all of this. My join layer is going to be my data from my CSV file. Okay, so I want to connect those two, but I've got to tell it how to connect it. So my target field is country name. So in my map, it was the country name. The join field is going to be my database. So in my database, it was just called name. Okay, so those two are really important to put in because you're teaching it how to link it up. Output name, don't use any sort of funny pieces of any symbolisms like commas or brackets because it doesn't work. So I'm going to call it map choropleth world, and I'm going to run. This does actually use credits, so your school gets a certain amount of credits to use. It's only a tiny amount it uses, but just be aware that if you're asking every single student in your school to use 10 different choropleth maps or create 10 different choropleth maps, then your credits might go. So I've clicked run. It's going to do that in the background. Okay, it's got sort of like a timer clicking away there. You can see that that's moving. Again, this might take 30 seconds or a minute, and it's done it. It's done it there. So I'm going to click cross, and as you can see, Turkey has not appeared because of the localized spelling of Turkey. I think that's Dr. Congo, maybe. Czech Republic, maybe, that's not quite right. Svalbard, it hasn't recognized. But the vast majority have now been colored in blue. Okay, so not the best, but it's actually connected the data. So what I'm going to go to now is styles on the right. And this is where I can actually tell it what I want to plot. So for my long list of Excel, I can say I'm going to plot total population first. I'm going to add it, and it's going to predict that I want to use proportional circles, which isn't bad actually. Look, India and China have got the largest proportional circles, but I'm actually going to go to the second option down that's got the areas on, these green areas. I'm going to tick that instead and say, no, I want a choropleth map. And there you can see that it's had a first go at plotting a choropleth map. If I want to tweak it, I can go into options. I can choose the colors. You know, I might not necessarily want blue. I might want sort of reddy browns. You know, think of students with color vision deficiency as well. You know, make sure they can read it as much as you can. And there's lots of bits and bobs I can work here. I can, you know, the cutoff categories are important. I can go to classify data, and I can tell it how many categories I want. So at the moment I've got 4. If I increase the number of categories, that changes the map significantly. As you know, it tells a different story, doesn't it? There's 6 categories. You know, you can decide if that's appropriate or not. I can always go back and I can change the colors. Let's see what purple looks like. Getting quite difficult to read now, isn't it, with lots of different colors. But in essence, I've plotted a choropleth map using data that I found on the internet. Just on there, I can put my legend on and there on. If I want to turn layers off, I can do that. I can just click those two on and off. That's the one I want to leave. And I can also mess around with the transparency on there. But there's my choropleth map using data I've found. Hope that was useful. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.